Hey everybody, it's Erica here from In the Company of Cards. Welcome to a Sunday conversation just between you and me. So happy Mother's Day. I thought that I would come on here and talk a little bit about Mother's Day. I am a mother and I'm also a stepmom to women who have long gone and grown and flown. And so, I thought I could speak from a position of authority here. By the way, everybody can speak on the issue of motherhood from a position of authority because every human being born was born of a woman. So, I wanted to make some observations and I wanted to read you a couple of poems or prose passages that I have found meaningful, powerful, moving on the subject of uh, motherhood. Mother's Day, of course, we know is a very commercialized holiday. I will say that when I was a girl, young, lived in my parents' house. We lived in a drug rehabilitation center that my father had founded. So we had an apartment on the top, and then below us were dorms and classrooms and workshops and things. And there was an addict population who were trying to get clean. 25 men lived there at a time, and then there would be a much larger outpatient contingent of people who would come in, really mostly male. There were a couple of women over the years that I remember coming in as outpatients, but mostly it was men. And I will tell you that it was a very odd place to grow up, especially as a girl. And I will say that for my father, the two busiest days of the year were the days when people were incessantly knocking on the door, needing access to my father, who was a minister, who was the director of this program, as I said, and was a father figure to all of these people. And the 2 days in the year when he was most in demand were Christmas and Mother's Day. Mother's Day, because these are people, men mostly, right, who had been just knocked down by drug addiction, probably um, had broken their mother's hearts, and who, of course, felt some type of way about that. And I'm sure that their feelings about their mothers were quite complex, as I think everyone's feelings about everyone's mother are quite complex. So I just want to acknowledge the fact that as sentimental and maudlin a day as Hallmark would have us make this day, it's not the easiest day for many people. I know that I left home at 16. I had a beautiful, brilliant, creative, especially with words, mother with whom I had quite a fraught relationship. So I left home at 16. Uh, I became a stepmother, a custodial stepmother of a preteen girl about a year into my marriage. When that girl was grown and ready to go off to college, I became pregnant with my daughter. And that was many, many years ago. So, as I said, they've all grown and flown. I've taught many, many students and have acted sort of in loco parentis, meaning in place of parent for them. And, you know, I want to say that the kids would come to me all the time talking about to talk about problems that they had with their moms. And what I would say to them is what I discovered about my own mother and about myself as a mother, which is to say that everyone's mother, I don't care how bad, how good, everyone's mother in the moment is doing the best they can. It may well be the case that a mother's best is bad. It could well be, but it is what they have to offer. It is the most that they are capable of in any given moment. And I think we need to extend grace for that. What I would also tell my students, who I taught teenagers for 30 years, and what I would also say to students is that the good news was that they were almost grown. And while they had a lot of critiques to make about their moms, the good news is that when you're grown, you get to reparent yourself in the ways that you feel you ought to have been reparented. In fact, I would argue that that's the job of every adult. You can spend your life, a lot of people do, blaming your mother for why this, that, and the other thing in your life has not gone well. And you may be 100% correct. She may very well be the source of why your life is as difficult as it is. But is that where you're going to stay? Or are you going to say, now the reins belong to me? Now I am in the driver's seat of my life. And so I'm going to reparent myself by seeking out and then giving to myself whatever mothering I feel that I didn't get. So, to every human being, male, female, and whatever it is in between, happy Mother's Day. The charge is to mother yourself. I love what Barbara Kingsolver wrote in her book, her novel. It's called The Poisonwood Bible. And I remember sitting at my mother's bedside as she was dying for many hours and reading that book. And there's a passage or a few lines that are in that book that have always stayed with me. And the lines are, a first child, and I was my mother's first child. A first child is your own best foot forward. And how you do cheer those little feet as they strike out. You examine every turn of flesh for precocity and crow it to the world. Precocity just means that everything that that baby does, you think is just a miracle of genius. And as a new mother, especially if you've given birth, the idea that you can think someone into existence, dream someone into existence, and then there they are. And then what you do is you you develop your skill set. You understand their cries, which cries are angry cries, which cries are lonely cries, which cries are wet cries, which cries are hungry cries, and you respond. You teach it things like how to go to the bathroom, how to use a knife and fork, how to get dressed, how to walk, how to talk. You teach a human being all those things. You walk them by the hand across the street after you've spent months and months and months carrying them across the street. Then you walk them by the hand across the street. Then you watch them as they walk by themselves across the street with your heart in your mouth. Eventually, they will cross streets and rivers and oceans and continents, and you won't know a thing about it. But you carry that and the memory of that in your heart. The skill set that you learn, I think, as a mother, the irony of it, just when you get really good at it, just when you've perfected it, you have to drop it and pick up another skill set entirely, which involves sort of mentally staying in catcher stance, but never letting your child see that you're in catcher stance, waiting for them to mess up. You have to effect nonchalance and confidence in them. so that they can go and leave the nest and live their lives. That's not an easy thing. The other quote by King Salver, I'll read that. This is about the last child. And, my daughter, I only had the one that I gave birth to. But the last one, King Salver says, the baby who trails her scent like a flag of surrender through your life when there will be no more coming after. Oh, that's love by a different name. She is the babe you hold in your arms for an hour after she's gone to sleep. If you put her down in the crib, she might wake up and fly away. So instead, you rock by the window, drinking the light from her skin, breathing her exhaled dreams. Your heart bays to the double crescent moons of closed lashes on her cheeks. She is the one you can't put down. Isn't that beautiful? The thing is, though, you have to put her down. You have to. The Buddhists say, and you may have heard me say this on YouTube before, the Buddhists say that the source of all human suffering is attachment. And does the universe not set mothers up for this, the greatest human lesson that a person can learn? Which is to say that someone whom you grew from an egg and a seed and carried for 9 months and then carried into adulthood is the one that you have to, in the end, the one you're most attached to, detach from. The source of all human suffering is saying to yourself, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold on with an iron grip. I'm not going to let that bird fly. That will be, in the end, your greatest source of pain, unless you learn how to let go. And that's in itself a skill set. I read another poem that I loved by Nikita Gill. Well, this is a poem. And I think that it's very hard for children, including adult children, by the way, to imagine their mothers as girls themselves. But women are whole entire creatures unto themselves before they give birth and even after they give birth. It's just that their children don't acknowledge that or can't recognize that, and nor does the world. When you're a mother for a long, long period of time, that is your identity. That's how you're seen. That's how you see yourself. So I loved this poem. Nikita Gill is the poet. In another universe, I meet my mother when she was a child. We go for a walk at the seaside, and she tells me all the things she loves about the world. We share 100 jokes, and she laughs so easily without a single worry. I want to meet that version of her, wide-eyed and full of joy, easy laughter and carefree, before the same world she loves so deeply broke her heart. Would that would be every child's wish, that they could imagine their mother before she was their mother, because I think that would help grown children grow in compassion. There is a trend, apparently, amongst millennials that I wanted to uh, give a moment to. It's GNC. GNC, at least back east, was a vitamin company, general nutrition company, I think it was, and you could get health food supplements and things there. But it's an acronym for something different nowadays, and it's called Going No Contact. Now, in the olden days, people had difficult parents, right? I mean, there's no manual and there's no test you have to take and there's no oath you have to swear to become a mother. You just have a baby and there you go, right? So, uh, and again, mothers do the best they can. Sometimes their best sucks, right? And in the olden days, prior to this millennial generation, we would sort of suck that fact up. We would say to ourselves, well, that's my mother. So I still swear fealty to her. I am still loyal to her. I am loyal to her memory if she's no longer here. I remember the best about her. I think back on birthdays that she made memorable, or Christmases that she made memorable. I think about the toy she bought me when I really, really wanted it. I think about how she took my temperature when I was sick. We think about those kinds of things. And even though our mothers may have been difficult, this is what we did in the olden days. We said, for the sake of the mother that she was in the good times, for the sake of the fact that she brought me into the world when she didn't have to do it, I honor her. But that's not what millennials do. This is a movement apparently, and they go no contact, which is to say they don't write any sort of explanatory letter or email or text. They just go silent. And there are therapists who specialize apparently in advising adult children to do this if they find their mothers difficult. And it's generally mothers that this will happen to. The mothers, of course, are left saying, wait, what? What happened? Why can't we talk about this? What did I do wrong? Etc. And I think that this is a really startling cultural trend. I think it is grounded in I don't know, I'm going to say an unwillingness to do that thing I talked about in the beginning, which is to say, an unwillingness to reparent yourself. Because by reparenting yourself in the ways that you think you should have been parented, you can come to a place of compassion. I think that with this movement, there is an inclination to be disinclined to extend compassion. We'll see in the fullness of time how this works out. I suspect that it will lead to years more of therapy for children whose parents have been who experience no contact and then die, and then the adult child will be left with that bag to carry. Is it worth it? I don't know. Some people say that it is. But I did want to acknowledge that trend because, again, for Mother's Day, any Mother's Day is not always a hallmark moment for many people. And as I said, I saw that as a child with the men in my father's program who came to him sobbing about their mothers. I know it in my own life, having left home at 16. Um, and and I see it with other people in my life. So uh, I have another poem that I wanted to read, and this is by Maya Angelou. What's it called? It is called Mother, a Cradle to Hold You. Let's see. It's a little bit lengthy, but that's okay. It is true. I was created in you. It is also true that you were created for me. I owned your voice. It was shaped and tuned to soothe me. Your arms were molded into a cradle to hold me, to rock me. The scent of your body was the air perfumed for me to breathe, Mother. During those early, dearest days, I did not dream that you had a large life which included me, for I had a life which was only you. Time passed steadily and drew us apart. I was unwilling. I feared if I let you go, you would leave me eternally. You smiled at my fears, saying I could not stay in your lap forever, that one day you would have to stand, and where would I be? You smiled again. I did not. Without warning, you left me, but you returned immediately. You left again and returned, I admit, quickly. But relief did not rest with me easily. You left again, but again returned. You left again, but again returned. Each time you re entered my world, you brought assurance. Slowly, I gained confidence. You thought you know me, but I did know you. You thought you were watching me, but I did hold you securely in my sight, recording every moment, memorizing your smiles, tracing your frowns. In your absence, I rehearsed you, the way you had of singing on a breeze while a sob lay at the root of your song, the way you posed your head so that the light could caress your face when you put your fingers on my hand and your hand on my arm. I was blessed with a sense of health, of strength, and of very good fortune. You were always the heart of happiness to me, bringing nuggets of glee, sweets of open laughter. I loved you even during the years when you knew nothing and I knew everything. I loved you still, condescendingly, of course, from my high perch of teenage wisdom. I spoke sharply of you often because you were slow to understand. I grew older and was stunned to find how much knowledge you had gleaned, and so quickly. Mother, I have learned enough now to know I have learned nearly nothing. On this day, when mothers are being honored, let me thank you that my selfishness, ignorance, and mockery did not bring you to discard me like a broken doll, which had lost its favor. I thank you that you still find something in me to cherish, to admire, and to love. I thank you, Mother, and I love you. It's by Maya Angelou. Isn't that great? I found another poem by someone who is a modern day poet. She identifies as a Blaxican, so she's mixed Black and Mexican. And her name is Leslie Honore, and she's on Instagram. You can find a lot of her poetry there. So this last poem I will read to you and then leave you to your day. And again, if you have a mother and your mother is with you, celebrate her. If she's not with you and she's passed on, commemorate her. If you are uh, someone who has had a fraught relationship with your mother, remember that your duty, your obligation, and your privilege is to mother yourself the way that you need to be mothered. That's every adult's responsibility to fill in the pieces where there are gaps. That's what makes us whole. Um, so this is Leslie Honore's poem. For my sisters and sister friends, the aunties and cousins, the stepmothers and mentors, girlfriends and godmothers, for the women who will not get a card or macaroni necklaces or brunch or flowers, who stand in the gap, who encourage and love, who guide and protect, who mother us, who mother the motherless, who mother us when our mothers are far from reach, whose voices we long to hear, whose arms we wish could hold us. For the women who somehow managed to be an echo of love we never had, never felt, but desperately needed. Today is for you, too. For the women who showed us what motherhood can be, when some of us have memories that ache like phantom limbs, pain from the removal, pain from the missing, pain from what should be but isn't. We celebrate you today for loving us when we felt so unloved, when we told ourselves, who can love me if my mama can't? To the women who helped us heal, thank you for teaching our hearts to receive. For the nobody's mamas, the women who chose not to and are judged, who are constantly asked, when will you? When are you? Who are you? Your clock is ticking. To the women who whisper to younger women, you don't have to be a mother. You don't have to be a wife. You can choose any life, and you are still worthy. Today, we thank you for mothering yourself fearlessly, paving the way for choice, for the mothers with empty arms and full hearts that crave to hold, to pour love in abundance, who have tried and feel that they have failed. We honor you today. We hold space to mourn with you. You can take off the mask of I'm okay. We know this dream is so big that when it breaks, you can't breathe. We honor your strength. We hold you in our hearts. We will celebrate your rainbows with you. Today, we honor the spirits of motherhood more powerful than just a womb, existent even when she has left us, even when she comes to us through other souls, even when she has hurt us beyond comprehension. We honor the women who love away the pain. Today, we honor you. We raise a glass. We shout in gratitude, thank you to the women who didn't birth us, but mother us with abundant love. We humbly thank you for your hands in the small of our backs, pushing us forward when we are afraid, for the words we needed to hear that are louder than our doubts, for showing us by example, for leading with love, for being the women who inspire our spirits. Today is for you too. Happy Mother's Day. So that's it. It's a beautiful poem. I'll put the link up if I can figure out how to do that. But anyway, it's by Leslie Honore. So, I'm thinking about my next big thing. I think about that prior to my birthday every year. My birthday's at the end of July, and my this past birthday, my big thing was to begin this channel, and it has grown thanks to you all in ways that I could never have imagined. And I'm thinking that for my next birthday, I will begin a book. And I think I'd like to, my second book, and I think I'd like to write a book about mothers and daughters. And I hope that it will be as helpful and healing a book as the first one, which many of you know, which is The Language of Lenormand. So that's what I hope to give birth to in the coming year. And I'll keep you posted on that. But in the meantime, happy Mother's Day to all who have mothered others and to all of us who seek to mother ourselves again so that we can be whole and complete and happy and alive and awake and aware and full of compassion for ourselves as much as for everyone else. So happy Mother's Day.